Namaste, Honorable Deputy High Commissioner Sir, all friends, children of the Mother. It's an honor and joy to speak on Sri Aurobindo anytime, anywhere. But even more especially so on a time when we are witnessing a transition. If we look back 100 years back, we can clearly see and none can deny that it was a century of great transitions. In fact, we can almost look at the previous century in two particular ways, the first half and the second half. And in the first half, we can see a transition from, we can see a great upheaval, we can see two great wars, we can see revolutionary movement at its peak, as if all over the world there was the upheaval created by, in our Indian thought, it is said that Balaram is the elder brother of, Sri Krishna, and Balaram is the Haldar. So this upheaval we can understand in terms of the great ploughing which has taken place in the Indian soil, in the world soil. And then comes Shri Krishna, who does the great sowing of beautiful things. So we can see in the first half of the century, on the one side, great upheavals, which led to a lot of changes, led to a lot of, it was a very turbulent time. Actually, when we think of today's time as being, sometimes people say, Kali Yuga aa gaya and things are bad, we should just look back 100 years back and we shall wonder. In fact, we are living in far, far, far better times today than yesterday, because the world has undergone a transition. But on the other hand, when we look at the second half of the century, we can see that certain seeds were sown in the first half, and they have started bearing fruits. And no doubt, it's still a long way to go, but still the seeds have been sown and they have been watered by the divine love, by the divine grace. And we all have a role in this whole process. And we'll come to that. But let's have a look at what are the seeds that were sown during the first half of the century when all this turmoil was going on. You see, pehle we have to plough the land and then only we can, put the seed. So, when we look at the first half of the century, during the time of great crisis, turbulence, and all the upheavals, we can see that just like during the war of Kurukshetra, there is one figure who looms large on the, not just the Indian horizon, but on the world horizon, who is doing the great sowings. Just like Shri Krishna sitting on the battlefield doing nothing, and yet doing everything. But Sri Aurobindo, we know that he plunged into the revolutionary battlefield, and when he was sure that the lines along which India will arrive at complete freedom, very few people are probably aware that he is one of the first persons, in fact the first person, if you go through the writings of Bande Mataram, who spoke about Purna Swaraj. He, along with Lokmanya Tilak and Bipin Chandra Pal, when they spoke about Purna Swaraj demanding a complete freedom, he is the first person. But Sri Aurobindo's Swaraj had two elements in it. So one was Swaraj just as a nation that we become independent. But Sri Aurobindo's Swaraj also had another aspect, and that is Swaraj, that India must first discover her own soul. Right now, by the time we see in the previous century, India had forgotten about her own soul. It's like in a state of tamas, and there were yogi mystics. India is a marvelous land in that sense. Everything else we can find everywhere, but when we have to touch our own souls, then there is no place like India. Simply because this land has been nourished and nurtured by countless seers and sages. If we look into the formation of India, it's very interesting. India was not created right away as a geographical entity. It started by search for the soul. And I feel so proud that whose blood flows into our veins, the veins of those rishis who 10,000 years back were singing songs like Tamso ma jyotirgamya, asdo ma sadgamya, tamso ma jyotirgamya, mrityur ma amritam gamya. This was the aspiration, this seeking, this search characterizes India. So the beauty of India is that there is throughout the history of India, if we look right from its inception, from the Vedic and even the pre-Vedic age, because the Vedas speak about the forefathers, we see what connects India and Indianness, Bhartiyata, as beautifully Rakeshji has put, all over the world, is this connection, deep running stream of a spiritual seeking. In fact, as we know that, you were mentioning about all the writings of Sri Aurobindo, most of them were written during 1914 to 1920. And they came out in a journal which was called as Arya. It was a 64-page monthly journal. And Sri Aurobindo single-handedly would write it for 6 years. In fact, 2020 is the year when, 1920 is the year, so it's 100 years when Arya actually stopped functioning. Another year, 1921, and it stopped functioning. But it had done its work. So if we go through that journal, which now are available as collected work, Sri Aurobindo had named it as Arya. Now when Sri Aurobindo was asked by somebody, who is an Arya? Is it a race? Is it some kind of a sense of superiority? And Sri Aurobindo makes it very clear that the Arya has nothing to do with just a physical type. The Arya is a psychological type of humanity which is always striving towards greater fields of perfection. It is not satisfied within the little narrow frame in which we find ourselves trapped and imprisoned. We are of course humans, but the beauty is we are meant to go beyond humanity. And that is a great message that Sri Aurobindo brings in times when we are only debating about the fate of humanity, fate of the world. Sri Aurobindo says that human beings themselves, we are meant to transcend, take the next step. Beyond human, just as from the ape we have transited to man, there is something new which is going to come. And the Aryan is one who is laboring towards that great leap. So the Swaraj that he spoke about, the first Swaraj that we all must win is an inner Swaraj. Which means that our own nature, our thoughts, our hearts, our feelings, our will, our very body must be brought under the direct influence of the soul. It's not enough that we lead our life in any which way, vagabond way, and we call ourselves, well, we are by birth Bhartiya, but the true sign of Bhartiyata is this. When in 1932, Nirod Baran asked Sri Aurobindo, "Sir, you have been working for India's freedom. Now, I'm sure even now you must be working, because we know that, within 5 years or 8 years, he had done what he had to do. In 1910, he moved on to greater fields, which is to Pondicherry for his still greater work. So 1932, when his disciple asked him, Sri Aurobindo says, regarding the freedom of India, all that is already settled. It's something already done. Now I am working on what India will do with the freedom. And then he mentions, Bolshevism, Gunda Raj, things look ominous. Now, Sri Aurobindo was seeing much, much, much farther. So when he speaks about Akhand Bharat, he is seeing a reality which is, to start with, it's a reality of the base and it's a reality towards the future. And this Akhand Bharat is not just a physical dominion. It's not like and the mother speaks about it with great clarity, that it's about the different portions of India which have been dismembered because of successive invasions, etc. They come together once again, maybe in the form of a confederation. And once again, there is the great march of mankind. Once again, not just outwardly, but in our hearts, that Vedic fire, that Vedic Agni begins to burn bright, kindles, carrying us further and further to great heights. Not just a horizontal progress in the same fields, but a vertical ascension of human consciousness beyond the mere human to the divine. So this is the whole dream. And India has to play a central role. If we look at the way, if we just do a fast forward and take a look at how this earth has come into being. So we will see that, there are first one Pancharia, one single mass of land, then two, then they move and shift. And if you look at that whole image, it is so clear that India is the one which drifts from one to the other and joins them, wherein it becomes the heart of the civilization. Actually, if you look at the whole image, it's so wonderful. So India, what is the role of India? India is the one which has to show to the world what really it means to live a life divinely, We all know how to live it intellectually. We are all learned people, very well educated in all the great universities. We are all literate. Then we are all people who have succeeded in life, achieved so much. But there is something which is missing, and it is that touch which India brings, and that is the touch of the soul. So this is the role of India. So when Sri Aurobindo spoke about India's greatness, India's resurgence, he was not just thinking of one country. He was thinking of the civilization which is on the verge of being plunged into darkness. Now imagine, just before, just around the time when Sri Aurobindo is rising to the horizon, 1900, we can see that what was the world like. If I look back personally, I wonder, can I call it a civilized world? If I look all around, there is nothing but oppression, there is nothing but, even in science, there is nothing but materialism, world is nothing but matter. Or we see religious superstition, or we see all kinds of attitude of men towards women, of, education, which is nothing else but, to create the same type of run-of-the-mill kind of humanity. So if we look at the world in 1900, 1910, 1920, it is a horrifying picture. Anybody who could project during that time, and what with the world war, Spanish flu around, and all other kinds of evils, one would have thought that this world is sinking into oblivion. But there was one person. It's so amazing that in 1914, when the First World War starts, when everybody is busy with the war and the dark night, Sri Aurobindo, through the pages of the Arya, is revealing to us the next future, like the dawn. And this goes on till 1920, 1921. And during that time, Savitri also started, 1916, as Rakeshji mentioned, the longest epic poem in English, with nearly 24,000 lines. It is the longest epic poem in English. So, it's a matter of being very proud, and it's next to the Mahabharata, if you look at it. Mahabharata is roughly about 1 lakh lines. So it's, of course, a matter of pride. But pride apart, the beauty of, what Sri Aurobindo's thought is that he is always advancing toward the future. Even when Sri Aurobindo looks back at the past realizations of the Vedic seers, we see essays on the Gita, we see the secret of the Vedas, the Upanishads. Basically, he is picking them up to say, now we have to go forward. There is something which is there in those aspirations which still moves us to the depth. But do we stop with these aspirations? No, we go forward. So we are the children of the future. We draw our breath from the past and we move towards the future. And this is something very beautiful about Sri Aurobindo. As the mother has said, Sri Aurobindo is the luminous future who is advancing towards its own realization. So he draws that from history and takes us to a yet more luminous future. So what that luminous future is, we find very interestingly, Sri Aurobindo in 1947, 15th August, when India is free, Sri Aurobindo obviously gave a message to the nation. And in that message, he speaks about 5 dreams. Some of us may have read about those dreams. And in these 5 dreams, we see the first dream Sri Aurobindo speaks of is a free and united India. And then he says that India is free but not yet united. Now, it's very interesting if we look at symbolically 2 aspects of the Indian independence. The first is 15th August date, which is of course the date of Sri Aurobindo. And when Lord Mountbatten was asked why he chose 15th August. So he says, well, it came as a bolt from the blue. Then he says that, well, it was the 2nd anniversary of the day when the Japanese had surrendered in Burma to the elite forces. So it was there in his mind. Now, he didn't know it. 30th June, the whole thing was there that, well, India can get independence. And anywhere before September, it could have been any date. But look at Providence, that it turned out to be 15th August, and suddenly this flashes into his mind, bolt from the blue, and he chooses. And Sri Aurobindo says that this gift of independence, which has been given to me on my own birthday, is one more sign that Providence has put its seal on all the great movements for which I have labored and worked. So this was one aspect. But the symbol is very interesting, that if we look back, see a fractured India. But in that fractured India, I mean, India before the partition was an undivided India in many ways. Though we had provinces, kingdoms, etc., that's one part of it. But still, there was a larger sense of cultural unity. As I said, the rishis start from the soul, then a larger culture, and then, of course, invasions. The whole original file got disturbed, and then the subsequent partition. But look at 15th August, which is the choice, is what is moving forward. And the other aspect is in the Indian flag. Now, when this flag was shown to the mother, she went into a deep trance and she says, this flag is partitioned. It's not a good thing. It should have been one single unit. And she foresaw a lot of problem at that very point. And yet, if we look at this flag, it's very interesting that we have the joining circle, the joining strip is white. White, though we speak of peace, but white is the sign of spiritual consciousness. And it is spiritual consciousness and a spiritual evolution and a spiritual ascension which alone can join the two-parted spheres, the orange and the green. So as India awakens to its own spiritual depths, its own spiritual heights, and the world awakens with India. So India's big relevance is not just about science, technology, economy, which is all right, which is a very good thing. But science, technology, and economic development without a commensurate spiritual development can be disastrous to the world. And we know this from the stories of Atlantis. We know this from our own Ramayana that Lanka is a highly developed outwardly civilization, but inwardly it is pauperized because the psychic and energies of love are diminished. So this is one part of development, but the more important development for which India rises is the spiritual and psychic development, because that key is with India. In other words, to really lead the world out of the morass, out of the challenges. And if we really look at India from that perspective, we see its enormous complexity, its enormous difficulties. Someone has once asked me that, India is a land of great seers. So why is it into such a mess? So the spontaneous answer was, which I hold, is that who is given the most challenging puzzle? Is it a child of nursery, kindergarten, or is it a child in PhD? So it is true, but all the mess of the world, all the potpourri, all the khichdi, all the difficulties have been given here so that India can resolve them. And what is the solution? Solution is not just outer. India has that key. It has applied it in the past and it has to yet apply it in the future. And that key is to release the psychic and spiritual energies which have been enslaved. There was a double enslavement of India. One was material, which is one part of it. But more importantly, that we began to feel that we are enslaved within. So we lost our own deeper sense of connectedness. And that is what we have to awaken. This is the meaning of Swaraj, and India rises for the good of the world. So we have to solve the same problems which have vexed humanity, but from a deeper angle and from a higher point of vision. So India's rise, first thing Sri Aurobindo said, that India has to show to the world the way to solve the problems that have vexed humanity. Not just a simple, singular solution, but a more global, more a holistic solution, which we see actually taking place, the world over last few years, more, especially more so. But this is what is the gift of India to the world. Now, when Sri Aurobindo was asked, how will this unity come about? He gave very clear answers. And one aspect was that we have to engage in common action. And we have to engage in the common origin. So this is what we need to emphasize, instead of emphasizing on the differences, which are many. But differences are always outward. We know that in a family, 5 children and children fight, but can they deny their mother? If we look back in Sri Aurobindo's writings, Bangla writings and later writings, he said that the vision of Mother India, Ma Bharati, she is our mother. We may be in different lands. So beautifully it has been said that we may be, in US, UK, Australia, anywhere for that matter. But our mother is one, Ma Bharati. And if this common sentiment can awaken in all of us, that we are children of Mother India, not Mother India, not mother of one section of humanity, not mother of one section of one language speaking people, not mother of one state, not mother of one denomination of people, but Mother India, Ma Bharati. So that's why Sri Aurobindo spoke of Vande Mataram as a mantra, because in this we are bowing to the mother. She is one indivisible. We may have different beliefs, doesn't matter, we may have different approaches. But what is important right now is to emphasize the fact that we belong to the one mother. And the more this common sentiment spreads across the globe, and of course, within India, we will see that there is a unity which will come about. The mother actually spoke of the practical aspects, how this will come about, and she says that there will be a lot of upheavals. She had said this pre-Bangladesh, she spoke about it. Now we can see that different parts of India is beginning to come together. She said there will be some more splits, but later on, all these parts will come together and join in a common confederation. So this is the ways he has foreseen the unity, and if we watch the world movements closely, we will see it is moving in that direction. The second dream that Sri Aurobindo spoke about was the rise of Asia, because India doesn't rise only for itself. In his Uttarpada speech on Sanatan Dharma, he says that India is not rising only for itself. We are nationalistic, but not the aggressive imperialistic nationalism, which is a nationalism of the Titanic kind. We are nationalists, but the nationalism of the Daivik kind, where we rise to discover our own soul, but we respect the soul of all the nations, and each nation has its own soul, and they must come together in a common Vishwa Yagna. So this world we can look upon as a Yajna. On the altar of it, each nation comes and brings its best. And what India brings is, India is the priest of the sacrifice, because it brings the psychic and spiritual energy. And when, as a result of this Vishwa Yagna, everybody receives as prasadam at the end. Now the Yagna is going on, and we have to give ahuti in this. So we have to give this ahuti in this world stage, and in that process, Asia rises is the second dream of Sri Aurobindo, which also we see very much happening. And the third dream is Asia also doesn't rise only for Asia, but Asia rises for the world, and we see his third dream is world unity. Now, it is very interesting that this idea of world unity is catching up the mind of the race. And this is the great sowing he has done. Now it is taking the mind of the race, and even if we see the way the internet is connecting people, lives are getting joined. Right now, this is an example, a very practical example of world unity that Sri Aurobindo has, the idea which he has set forth into the world. And the fourth dream he speaks about is that India's spiritual gift to the world, and which also we see it has begun in many ways. This gift is not only in terms of information technology, but most importantly, India's spiritual gift to the world. And finally, the last part of the dream is that he saw that mankind is destined to evolve further beyond man to what he called as the superhumanity of the future. And that's a very detailed, vivid description, the path of integral yoga, and the journey, and those who feel called and those who feel drawn can read it. It's all over there in Sri Aurobindo and the mother's writings, and it's a beautiful journey, a tremendous journey, because if we remain human, which means basically we remain ego-centered, desire-driven, our basic software is the mental ignorance, then with all our goodwill, all the wonderful things we may speak about, the civilization will always be prone to what is called in India as pralaya. But if we go beyond the ego-driven, half animal, half human we are, to a divinely driven by the divine Shakti, no more by the desired self, driven no more centered around the ego, but around the divine self within us, but not withdrawn into nirvana and moksha, but active in the world, engaged in the world, wherever we are, whatever we may be doing. And if our mind of ignorance is replaced by a mind of light, of which he spoke about, one of the action of the supramental light will be to create a mind of light in humanity, which will no more move from ignorance to light, but from light to greater light, then we will see humanity cross over a perilous bridge, and the future of the world will be secured. Let me close with this, that the world has seen many pralayas, but this is not what we want now. We want the civilization to progress, and to progress to the next level. When will it be? How will it be? Now that is something which Sri Aurobindo has mentioned in several places, but let me read a few lines from Savitri to close this little sharing. And these lines are from Savitri, Book 1, Canto 4, The Secret Knowledge, and it's on page 55, those who may like to later on refer. And right now we see darkness, but in darkness somebody can see the seed of a new dawn. So this is what Sri Aurobindo has prophesied and seen about the world, and we all have a role to play in this. And the lines go like this: thus will the masked transcendent mount his throne. Masked transcendent is the divine within us, but he's masked. We don't know. We know there is God, but we have to. Its idea is not sufficient. Belief is not sufficient. We must be real yogins who realize in our life. We must awaken once again the spirit of Shri Krishna, of Bhishma, of countless sages and seers. They were not content with believing. They went ahead and realized. So thus will the mass transcendent mount his throne when darkness deepens, strangling the earth's breast, and man's corporeal mind is the only lamp. As a thief's in the night shall be the covert tread of one who steps unseen into his house. A voice ill heard shall speak, the soul obey. A power into mind's inner chamber steal. A charm and sweetness open life's closed doors, and beauty conquer the resisting world. So the world will resist. It will not easily give in. But what we have to do is we all carry that little resistance within us, and we have to allow this divine conquest within us. This is the divine victory towards which we must move. And this ends up very beautifully, this passage. In fact, he has spoken of what this future will be like. The truth light capture nature by surprise. A stealth of God compel the heart to bliss, and earth grow unexpectedly divine. In matter shall be lit the spirit's glow. In body and body kindle the sacred birth. Night shall awake to the anthem of the stars. Our will a force of the eternal's power. The days become a happy pilgrim march. Our will a force of the eternal's power, and thought the rays of a spiritual sun. A few shall see what none yet understands. God shall grow up while the wise men talk and sleep, for man shall not know the coming till its hour, and belief shall be not till the work is done. So this is a big project that Sri Aurobindo has not just left for us. He's helping us, guiding us constantly. It's a divine project, maybe over the next 1,000 years, and it's a wonderful project to be associated with. It's not a mission or a belief or just a place of gathering, but it's a project where humanity is going to take its leap, and this leap is going to secure the future for mankind and for earth. Minus that leap, we may have everything for the moment, but again there will be a tendency to collapse, because as long as man remains what he is, the future cannot be secure. So let us join. Let me close with this wonderful message of the mother. She spoke about the future of the earth depends upon a change of consciousness, and the change is bound to come. But, and here comes this important proviso, but it is left to men to decide whether they will collaborate with the change, or the change is thrust upon them by the power of crashing circumstances. So friends, brothers and sisters, the future is definitely beautiful. It has been secured by Mother and Sri Aurobindo for us, but we can make a choice whether we have to go through the power of crashing circumstances, or we happily, joyously collaborate by bringing in a greater aspiration, a newer thought, a greater and wider idea into the ken of our life, and lead our life not just only for ourselves, but for India, for the world, and for the divine. Thank you so much. Namaste. Vande Matram. Jai Ma.